Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first into incapable wisdom. Now we have started the process of Divyang Sutra, the new integrated spiritual science wisdom for the world, from beginning before the creation to present day. And this concept at this particular beginning is about the plant kingdom and photosynthesis, how the basic things were produced. But later I am going to talk about the review of literature from the beginning and make as a continuous part. The first thing is something which I want you to, but if you are interested more to see a continuity, continue with the review thereafter. Now, I am making one thing very clear. This particular spiritual science is coming from Akhand Bharat, integrated Bharat, which I called Hindu Rashtra. Why Sindhu Rashtra? Because in East, it is by Himalayas, Mansarovar, Mount Kailash, to Sindhu River, to the north in Ladakh, and to the west to Saptasitu, and then getting into Sindhu Mahasagar is the land surrounded by this water. And that is what I mean. The surrounding of water is 61.8%, and the land, which is this component, is the land from which this knowledge has originated, from Vedas, Upanishads to the present day. The correction is done by the Brahman at this particular place only and nothing other than that. They have a specific characteristics to be in tune with universal consciousness, and I am talking about universal consciousness of the perfection without any defect, and that is what is Akhand Vidyashram's whole concept as the spiritual science of this work is concerned. And I am not degrading anything. This has come from here. Let it be from Akhand Bharat, the Sindhu Rashtra, the spiritual science. Now let's come back to this particular process. I'm going to talk about the plant kingdom, how things were developed on earth. But later as a review I would be explaining how before it was done, it is done, and thereafter as a continuation of as a review. But this is the concept called abstract of the topic of the day, and the plant kingdom is what is the starting with. Then the genesis of biochemistry as required for the human body or all the living beings is started from plant kingdom only. Atoms, element, molecules, compound came from the universe. When they came to the earth, they have flown into ocean, and from ocean the life has started, and the first life we started was a plant unicellular organism, and how biochemistry developed from that, that is what you're going to see. Now, to start with, from those atom, element, compounds to the first thing was asexual reproduction in the plant. Then there were no seeds, they were under the ground, there was no sun, no photosynthesis, and grades were created as we moved on. That is what I want to talk about the plant kingdom. Asexual creation of plant from atom, element and molecules and compounds which were formed in the nature have come down to earth, and from water, in the warm water of ocean, the biological life started, and first thing was a plant, and it was from asexual reproduction. Let's understand that. Now, as well as best example I can say are bananas or onions. I have given a picture of banana. In this picture you can see at the bottom how a banana starts forming a new plant, and you can see at the bottom two things. Plants are coming from that basic plant asexually without any involution of anything at all. But then you have a stem, which is made of 10 parts. I have already spoken about it. And then how it grows to the leaves and other things. Then from there comes flowers and also the fruit. And how the fruit, bananas, are like a female and the stalk is like a male. And then the plant kingdom starts. That is the beauty I want you to understand from asexual reproduction of bananas and onions, which have 10 stages. I'm not talking everything else, because concept of 22 by 21 to the power of 10 is something which was very clear from very beginning itself. In nature, everybody should have noticed it if they were very clear about the nature unfolding its secrets. Up to 22 by 21, the first stage of creation, to the 10 stages of development, I believe every should have done it, and I have done that ever since my childhood. It's represented in Upanishads, it is represented in Dasavatar, and all the Veds, Upanishads and other things talk abundant of this is something which is very clear. We will unfold that as we proceed to the review of literature as the beginning of Devyang Sutra as we proceed later. Let's understand the first abstract of this particular concept. Now, the first thing, as I told you, the spores were the first one which reproduce. And spore is a reproductive cell, can develop into a new individual cell without fusion with another reproductive cell. That is what I said, asexual. There is no union of two cells to become one. In human beings, it is sexual, where two haploids, the males and female, get together to form as ovum and sperm together to zygote. That is sexual product. But here, a reproductive cell, which is unicellular organism, is able to produce a new cell without a fusion with another cell. That's why asexual, and you see in spores. Second, spores are thus different from gametes, mean sexual components, which are productive cells that must fuse in pairs to give rise to a new industrial cell. Again, haploid to diploid is something which is seen in gametes. Male and female are haploid. When they get together, they become diploid. That's one part. Spores agents are asexual reproduction, whereas gametes are agents of sexual reproduction. That is something which I want to make it very clear. Let's talk of asexual reproduction from spores, where gametes come to play a role in sexual reproduction later. This is a nice kind of knowledge we should give it to every child from the very beginning itself. In plant kingdom, this is what is seen. The first stage of development. Spores are produced by bacteria, fungi, algae and plants. I think this particular basic knowledge of the concept of spores is more than enough. You can build on it, there is never an end to it. I am being very precise, concise to talk of the fundamentals which are required. I think now we understand the beauty of spores, or the spiritual science of spores, how reproduction from new individual cell without a fusion with another cell is very clear. Then come to the stage from how spores to seed formation is beautifully done in this particular picture, which is from Encyclopedia Britannica, a great people, and here you can see right at the bottom on top, you can spores falling down for reproduction at a later stage. Let's start from that angle as germinating spore. How they form the basic plant as such in banana, this or any other thing. And then young leafy gametophytes are produced thereafter. Spores start asexual, but then gametophytes are produced. And how they are produced later, they get converted into males and sperm. And male is a sperm, and as such, and of course a female, about two together, they go to form an egg, and from there zygote is formed, and then zygote is further developed into further males and female kinds, and how they go further and sexual reproduction they produce, and to come to the circle complete. We are starting in this beautiful picture of Britannica Encyclopedia, how spores start, how they go through the whole process and come to the stage of sexual to asexual to sexual to produce, and the cycle goes on thereafter. So now we are very clear. In the beginning, atom, element, molecules, a compound came from nature along with the water, and in the warm water ocean the unicellular organism started. We got all the requirement from the water and then produced chemical changes to spores, which is small parts which have also inside triplet inside. It's a basic structure like atomic structure only, very simple. But they are capable of going further development, evolution you can see. And that is what I want every student to understand, every researcher to understand, everyone in the world should understand. That's how we have evolved. Then we have come to the question of basic design of nature from plant kingdom. Let's understand that. Now, having found the seeds now, which were seedless to seeds, when seeds are put in water, in the ground, now the light plays an important role. Then water plays a role. Only when you put water and it's got a warmer climate, the sprouting start, and it need not necessarily have something to do with sun to start, because sprouts can be formed at home without sunlight by taking any other seeds, pour water, close it, warm climate, they will form. That is sprouting. That's process. But when put the sun, then the plants grow. That I am going to talk about it as we proceed. The first is seeds and sprouting of seeds, as sprouts are very important for health as such, as a good process of carbohydrate, protein and other things. Now the seed has got complete ingredient to produce dichotomous division to this stage, and then go on further. You're going to see from spores, asexual reproduction, to the seed formation, and then sprout formation, and then further on. This systematic thing is what I am trying to put it across, how nature developed its unfold. And once you are tuned with this nature, only then you can go to Divyank and understand it clearly. And I want everybody to understand how spirituality was exhibited by divine nature along with the science, side by side, without any deficiency. Spirituality and science were the only two sides which brought me to understand, because I knew both the sides clearly. I am not talking of spirituality abstract. I am not talking of science as matter. And I feel they are the one who, science is talking about matter, spiritual talking energy. They are the two sides of the same coin which are put together. Only as spiritual science we can understand nature as such. Nature never made a difference between science and spirituality. It has unfolded its secret beautifully. We have made the difference and confused the world. Now I am trying to make together the way spirituality was in a scientific way exhibited by the divine nature itself. Now come to the question of the having come to the sprouts. Now the sprouts are in the sun with sunlight, and how it starts developing into a tree form. The first thing you can see at the bottom is only one part. Then you have the first branches are 2, then 3 branches, and at 4th level there are 5, and at 5th level there are 8, and 6th level as 13, at 7th level and 21. As I have been making it very clear, first 7 stages are very, very important. But here I have taken it to 8 stage. But if you stick to the stage, the process would go of leather, start from 0, which is a seed, number 1. Then from there 1 comes, then 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and then go out. What you see in this particular design, there is a mathematical design which trees have taught me from my childhood. And what the world have understood about that is something let us discuss about. Then come to the plant cell. And plant cell, this structure I am talking about is the structure as you see in the plant in detail in the world. I have no issues at all. But under the compound microscope, you can see 3 parts only. You can see the cell membrane, you can see cytoplasm, you can see the nucleus. Rest of the detail you can't see under compound microscope. But under electron microscope, you can see the other structure and see that cell membrane is made of 7 parts, cytoplasm has got 7 organelles, and nucleus has got 7 parts. So they become 21 parts. So the cell itself is very clear, defined, and I've already explained that. But when goes further, how one part called centrosome becomes 2 to become 2 centrioles, and 21 become 22, and that is the first stage of creation, which I related to Lord Brahma, the Lord of Creator, is equivalent to 20 by 21, which is 1/3 of 22 by 7, which you can see in Lord Brahma's picture. That's one part. Now come to the structure of chlorophyll as a green pigment which is called chloroplast, which is the part responsible for photosynthesis. For photosynthesis mean, photo is a light which is like Surya or sun or Aditya gives it, and that helps in plant to manufacture carbohydrates, proteins and other things required for all the living beings. So the first thing which nature did was brought all the atom, element, molecule, compounds, then converted into plant kingdom to produce things for other living beings to survive thereafter. The thing which nature believes is the fruits, flowers, grains produced by the plant to be the ideal for human being. I am not talking about carnivorous animals, I am not talking about herbivorous animals. I am talking about human beings as we are frugal and fructivorous in nature, pure vegetarian, depending on fresh fruits, vegetables and grains, etc., which birds can use. And I am making it very clear. Birds can fly, so our thoughts can fly. Where other carnivorous animals cannot fly, herbivorous cannot fly, but birds can. So we are like birds because our thoughts can fly. We are a reflection to that, and keeping that in mind, we should think. And this is the structure of a chloroplast. As you can see, the different structures of chloroplast, it can be studied very clearly. Someone who can look into it. And this picture is again per Encyclopedia Britannica only. And I can tell you that's a beautiful work done by them. I admire that work, and I think that that's standard, internationally accepted as part. Now come back to India. Now I am making it one thing which plant kingdom is very, very important is able to convert carbon dioxide, which was their atmosphere, along with water in plant kingdom. Let's say plants take carbon dioxide from nature and water from the ground and put together as something to produce plants, and that carbohydrates are produced along with the oxygen is produced. Now I am bringing to the next stage of development. Carbon dioxide has come down, water has come down, and those together in plants get converted into carbohydrate, let's say glucose, plus oxygen. So that oxygen is absolutely essential for living beings. So the original atmosphere of Earth, which was 97% carbon dioxide before unicellular plant kingdom developed. Then how plants converted that into oxygen is the process of this particular plant, which India calls it banyan tree or people tree or Ficus religiosa. This is a plant indigenous to this land, has given oxygen to the world. So I would say this is the one plant which can produce oxygen 24 hours is banyan or people tree or Ficus religiosa, and that is what I would say this is a land which produces oxygen for the entire world to start with. World did not even exist as it is. It was only India, Sindhu Rashtra, Ved, Upanishads, which were more than 10,000 years, the wisdom started appearing. And all those people who sat under the banyan tree, got oxygen 24 hours, were very intelligent because brain can use oxygen, glucose with the sodium chloride and water alone to get the intelligence to reach up. So they do glucose plus oxygen plus sodium and chloride and water is essential for brain functioning as such. And those things, those little people, all the rishis, maharishis, brahmarishis sat under the banyan tree to get oxygen 24/7. They were intelligent and they insisted only on vegetable protein, food, glucose, fructose, and I'm going to explain that as we move on in this particular process. Why they are important. So first thing, tree, which gave the world wisdom was banyan tree. All the enlightened souls of Bharat, all the Brahmins of Bharat are enlightened souls, got all that under the banyan tree. That's a huge tree as such. And aura of human being is also that, and they are in the representation of Divyank ratio only. Length and breadth is in Divyank ratio. We have started the concept of this. Now, having understood this, let's move on to the next stage. Now, photosynthesis is also, the science has made it very clear that the sun can produce 7 colors, Vivgyar: violet, blue to red. But there are two extremes of the light which is responsible for producing more oxygen than the middle part. One side you have ultraviolet ray in the morning, for which as the sun rises, ultraviolet rays, during that time plants can produce more oxygen. Evening at sunset, infrared light, Rudra, morning is Brahmani and Rudra, can produce more oxygen, but not during the daytime. And this is something which science has said. No wonder in India when they talk of Gayatri Mantra, it is in the morning as well as evening, along with the afternoon, is 3 things which are very clear. During the daytime of 12 hours you should do it. But what is very clear in this, that maximum oxygen is produced by these plants during morning and evening only. Only banyan tree can produce 24 hours, but other plants do only morning and evening, not during time, but banyan can do throughout. Now there comes to the question of night. There are certain plants which can produce oxygen at night, and they are these 10 plants. And one thing which I use in my house very clearly is aloe vera. You can see at the left side at bottom. And I'm going to show that also in plant kingdom in Fibonacci sequence, and show how India gave that wisdom long back as we proceed with this. But that is a plant can produce at night in your house, and you can be comfortably sleeping. I want everyone to have aloe vera plant in the house, so that you have oxygen even at night in your house are abundant. And banyan tree house close is also important, and that's where these particular plants give a very interesting, because they give oxygen at night. You can choose any of the one, but I choose aloe vera by and large, because it has got lot of medicinal properties. Otherwise also healing process is there. Now there comes to the question of photosynthesis. And in photosynthesis, something which I want you to realize, when there is a light, and I'm talking about light, sunlight primarily, but any other light which has that variation of ultraviolet or infrared with the light reaction in the sun in the photosynthesis can do. But here in this particular picture, there are 2 things which I am showing. As I told you, all the things started from carbon dioxide and water. It is the water from which oxygen is produced in light reaction. I am making it very clear. Water, H2O, is converted into oxygen molecules, which is reacted, plus hydrogen is released. That is the process from water. So oxygen comes from water. But on the other side, you can see carbon dioxide. This is one responsible for carbohydrate. Hydrated carbon is later as C6H12O6. That goes through the Calvin. In between you form ATP, NADHP2, and how the process of energy goes. That is something which I want every child to understand. Oxygen is from water and carbohydrates from carbon dioxide, and these are the 2 things which nature gave it to us in abundance before plant kingdom came. As I've been saying very clearly, before life started, biological life started, Earth also, like inner planets like Mercury, Venus and Mars, had 97% carbon dioxide. Because of the plant kingdom, we have 21% oxygen plus 78% nitrogen. Nitrogen was produced with the union of carbon plus hydrogen for the next stage of amino acid protein production or other molecules which are required for animal kingdom by and large. So that kind of knowledge we should give in integrated work. That is what I am talking about. Now the question of Kelvin-Saker. How 3 molecules of carbon dioxide get together to produce 3 carbon sugar first, which is triose, and how that gets converted into sugar form as a doubling of that, and also the later is the given this picture. It's just an idea how it was developed. Detail you can read other things, but this is integrating thread which is required to find the sequence very clearly. I am creating a sequence of Mahagranth of the important points. Detail you can read it, add it to make it elaborate. You can make it 1 page, 10 pages, 100 pages, 1000 pages, even 10,000 pages. It's up to you. From center to but knowing center empirical wisdom is much more important than periphery. And I'm only creating and integrating Divyank Sutra along with Akhand Sutra to bring spiritual science as designed by nature, without any deficiency, without missing even one point in the process. That is my idea. Second thing is, let's go to the synthesis of glucose in plants. As I told you, you can see carbon dioxide plus water on top. You can see those molecules. Then in photosynthesis, how they convert into glucose plus oxygen, I've already explained. And there are 7 steps in plant kingdom which are important, which have been described. You can read it leisurely as you go, because you'll have to do work on your own to describe it to go to the next stage. Then there are 10 stages of glucose homeostasis, how glucose is converted into pyruvic acid or lactic acid in the human cells, and how lactic acid and pyruvate is converted into glucose. But here I am making one point very clearly. You can see the glucose used in the human cells, the right and the left. Glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate. I am making it very clear. Glucose converted into 6-phosphate. But that is converted into fructose 6-phosphate. That's what I say, we are fructivorous. Even glucose is converted into fructivose in the cells before we go on to produce further things, including triose, which is 3 carbon sugar, or 3 carbon acids, or pyruvic acid in the presence of oxygen, or lactic acid without any oxygen. How they are converted is something which is very clear. You can leisurely read this as we proceed. But important point is all the 10 stages are there. I want people to understand you have 10 stages at every stage. Keep it in mind. The knowledge should have 10 stages and all should be integrated without any difficulty. That is something which I cells to cell, and how pyruvic lactic acid in the liver is converted into glucose again. It is a process which I want everybody to understand clearly. So next comes a question I'm talking about glucose homeostasis. Based on Divyank, the perfect stage of glucose should be 111 milligram per 100 ml of blood, undiluted blood, at an average with the HbA1c around 55.7 as an ideal, or you can go up to 6 an ideal. And this, if this particular process is maintained, you'll have no problem of diabetes or no problem of sugar deficiency at all, and you will be perfectly healthy. Between 80 to 40, your blood is perfectly normal. Fasting 80 or anyway, or postprandial 140, and anything during the daytime, any average should be between these things. More or less you'll have no problem whatsoever. But when because less than 680 it comes to 68, or more than 140 to 180, also there is not a problem, because your kidneys can filter up to 180, because threshold value for sugar is only 180. Only after you go more than 180, sugar starts appearing in urine, and that is diabetes mellitus. That's what the diabetes mellitus means sweet sugar, sweet urine. That comes only after 180, not before that. And up to 68, the automatic adjustment can take place, and body will tell you whether you have less sugar or more sugar. You can take your intake with it. That's why all the human beings, in my opinion, should never overeat to complete the hunger completely. You should still be hungry and stop it. And that's it, so that you can get to the next stage without any difficulty at all. You should have trained your food in such a way that every 3-4 hours you should feel hungry. Work within that, you will never have any problem whatsoever. But when you go below that to 42 or more than 291, that is where diabetes comes. That becomes a problem. That is primarily because you're overeaten, you have gone into negative concept, and you are not doing your work and other things very clearly. And that is where Akhand Yoga comes to play an important role if you want to be healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. And this is what I want everybody to understand. It's a part of plant kingdom to make us perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. If you have this kind of information from plant kingdom, we are 1,000 times better to be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. And that was what I really wanted to be. We are not non-vegetarian. We should not drink, we should not smoke, we should not do anything which is unnatural. And I'm making it very clear, if you want to be in tune to universal consciousness, you got to do only those things which nature has designed for homeostasis. Which is not part of homeostasis, let us not bother about at all. Let us not disturb the homeostasis stage. For homeostasis stage, there are certain things important. Glucose is important, fructose is important, water is important, sodium is important, chloride is important, protein is important, and so is the potassium important. So certain elements which fall within the first 5 periods are there. 6 and 7 do not play a part in human body. And that's it. Once we understand that is going to be a part of Devyank Sutra in a sequence form, this is the first part of the plant kingdom. Now, having come to that stage, we go to the next stage of fatty acids. And fatty acids are nothing but extension of carbohydrate to the next stage. Say glucose is and fructose is C6H2O6 is a combination which is glucose and fructose by and large. They are hexose. That's the primarily used. But when come to the fatty acid thing, it is the oxygen which is taken out and kept. And now I am going to show you why oxygen is taken out, why it is done, and what is to be done, what happens next, what is the project. Let's go to the next stage. Now, 1 gram of carbohydrate and 1 gram of protein can produce 4 kilocalories of energy. But fatty acid produce 9 kilocalories, or 2.25 times more than glucose and proteins can produce. Why? Because oxygen, as you can see on the fatty acid formula on the right side, it is oxygen is O2 only throughout, where a carbon and hydrogen is the same formula of C6H12 primarily. Little change at a lower victim, but primarily is that, but oxygen should have been 12 but is brought down to 2. Mestic also 14 and 28 used to have been 14 but it's only 2. Palmic acid 16 and 32 is the same formula but oxygen has come down to 2. Stearic acid is again 18 and 36 but oxygen has come to 2. Acrylic acid is also same, right up to this formula of C and H2 is the same. C1H2 is same but oxygen has come down. But you go down to linoleic acid, carbon is 18, hydrogen should have been 36 but it's 32, that has come down, but oxygen is O2 only. Oleic acid has 16, 18 but is 34. One is 32 or 34 less than the 36 plus oxygen is made. Why did nature remove the oxygen and kept the formula to more or less the same of C and H2 the same formula? Because you have taken oxygen out so that cells can take oxygen, convert more ATP from fatty acids than you can produce from carbohydrate. So look at the intelligence. Carbohydrate can give you more of energy to be used immediately. But fatty acid will give you energy more for those organs which need more energy consistently. And one thing which comes out is, it is cardiac muscles of the heart which from second month of gestation till we die continuously do that. And they live on fatty acids, not on glucose and proteins for energy formation. And that's why oxygen is important along with the fatty acid to produce more energy, to thereafter go on to produce higher and higher form of energy to maintain heart functioning for throughout life without any tiredness. Because when glucose is converted into energy, it produces pyruvic acid or lactic acid, which is 3-carbon thing, which can be painful by and large. But in human heart, you don't feel because pyruvic acid, lactic acid is not produced because of fatty acids. But unless until you have an attack, you don't feel pain at all in the heart. And basically because of fatty acids, not because of glucose. That's why this is important for the human life itself. So along with the carbohydrate, fatty acids were produced. So we are the one who should have the concentration of 60% good quality carbohydrates, maybe 14-15% of fatty acids, and maybe 24 to 25% of good quality vegetarian proteins like rajma and soya beans, etc., or green grams, to really keep. And that is what I have learned. If I maintain that formula, and I can be healthy, and I have shown that I can reverse the aging by becoming a pure vegetarian, keeping good quality carbohydrate, good combination of sucrose rather than glucose alone, which has a fructose plus glucose by and large is sucrose. Sucrose based thing is much more important than that particular food which is only glucose, like your starch or maltose. Sucrose is better than maltose and starch. Let's leave it at that. You can keep that to the minimum, but concentrate on more of a sucrose kind, which is a middle path, because brain is going to use both glucose and fructose both. I am bringing it very clear. Then protein content should be at least 25% of high good quality proteins, vegetarian protein. It's a misconception that non-vegetarian food is important for muscles. And I have seen great athletes, and I also at 73, I have more muscle powers than even the non-vegetarian eating people. It is the protein which give you good quality things, and it is a good fatty acid. That is the balance which Ayurveda is talking about, and that is what I want people to understand. But now, as I told you, the oxygen is taken in to produce more, and you can see 10 stage of beta oxidation in fatty acid, which I have shown. And I have also shown you the heart as well as cardiac muscle, how they depend. That is the information which I want you to understand leisurely. If you build on this, you will never forget anything which is divine design. And I am talking about divine design, core one. I am not talking about periphery. I do not want anybody to fall sick. You follow, you will be healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. That is my point. Now comes this question of, now I am going to take you to the journey of essence, a review of Divine Sutra thereafter. This is going to be the second part, and as I build, what I have done today would be last part in the next one. And then at the end you will have slides running into hundreds and maybe thousands in each one to show that each is a document of Divya Sutra integrated. Having given you the abstract of the plant kingdom, photosynthesis for carbohydrate and fatty acids. As such, now we are going to reviewing how the nature started. As I told you very clearly, it's an integrated spiritual science. And unless until you understand how nature unfolded its secrets in the universe, you will not have an integrated thing. So from beginning to the status pinnacle, and I'm talking about pinnacle, perfection, horizon of the perfect one without any difficulty or the impeccable wisdom. And it has to be with the divine mathematics and divine symbols alone. So that is the difference between this work and all the works done throughout the world, whether from Ved, Upanishad to this, to the modern science, other thing, may finally bring together to one where is Sampurnata, Akhandata by and large. Now having understood, now let me go through those slides which I have shown you little faster. I am just giving you the central sense, and you will have to leisurely go through that at your leisure at home to understand the concept, to understand Divya Sutra, number one. Now come to the situation, as I told you from the very beginning, the essence of the whole universal consciousness is Sat Atma, the divine soul, which cannot be cut, burnt, otherwise. That's the first stage of the beginning of universal consciousness. Second thing which is important in the numerological, and I'm talking about science only. From one science, complete spirituality is with Atma, and as far as mathematics is concerned, it is zero. It is zero was the one which came with the Shunya, which is Atma itself. So Atma has got Shunya as zero, the mathematical concept, and as a source which gives you the information. That's everything is come shunya, the data, information, knowledge, wisdom to this is from zero, and that is what universal consciousness is talking about, Atma, that was there before the world was created. Now, second thing is how the mathematics developed further. How zero was the first one, then came to the 12 stages. And I have explained that in this particular thing. Let's explain that. As I told you, the center is zero, is dot to start with. When it expands, it becomes circle. It can also become third dimension, spherical. That is the first point to start. Second point to understand, the 7 is very important concept. 1 divided by 7 will give you 6 numbers, 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7. If these numbers are put together, you get this particular picture. Is the first point, first establishment of numerology. Then come to the situation that you added to this a triangle called male Saksha triangle, 3, 6 and 9. You come to the picture which is this is what West calls the male god. But India talks about female god along with the male god. So I have put that male god as a reverse in the opposite of male to make it 10, 11 and 12 points. So the god and goddesses, Shakta and Shakti put together form first 12 numbers plus 0. So 13 numbers are there which are very important. How the universe started developing is numerology. That's what I'm making it very clear. Now the beauty of that you can see in this particular picture as 108. You have 12 zodiac signs and each one has got 9 numbers. This is 108. And approximately 10.344 into that is also approximately that. That is mathematical. There is not necessary for you to see, but you can see the zodiac signs as such, and there are 9 into that is 100. But what is more important, you can see there is a chart of 9 things which Akhand Bharat talks about it, Navagraha. You have Mercury, Venus, Moon, Jupiter, Sun, Mars, and Saturn. These are the 7 ones which are well known. But Ketu and Rahu are the 2 concepts which world does not really understand. But as I understand, Rahu is the head which is Earth and Ketu is the body which is asteroid belt. So Earth is also placed along with Moon and asteroid belt is also put. So literally 9 from Sun to Mercury to Venus to Earth to Moon to asteroid belt to Mars to Jupiter to Saturn is all the things right up to Saturn. You have influence on every living being. Saturn is the one which is ultimate. Beyond that you don't have to go about it. That's what I'm just trying to talk about it. And that is beauty seen in Navagraha temple itself, and this is how they're designed. And the representation is very clear. And then you have 9 of this and there are 12 they become 108. That's what I was trying to explain to you. Now the question is, you can see the same mathematical design in mathematics also. 1, 3, 6, 12, 24, 48 and 96 is very clearly done this as Anahata Chakra with the mind and heart is connected with. Now come to the question, origin of universe started with the Nirankar Nirgun Brahman, which to my knowledge is a formless, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent universal consciousness. I relate that with xenon, is the first most unstable inert matter of the 5th periodic table. Let's not go to 6 and 7, 5th, but is unstable. And then you can see, this is where you see 108 is inside and 54 outside. Is very clear. But when come to the first manifestation is Sakar Sargun Brahman, which Akhand Bharat is talking about, and that I saw is a krypton, which is a power of 108 straight away. As you can see, it is 36 plus 36 plus 36 is 108, and that is where the concept of mantra, rosary of 108 or chanting of Gayatri or Anam or other things, 108 became important. You want to be in tune with krypton and xenon. In the beginning, you have to have 108 stages to reach that level. That's it. But you can see the beauty of that within Sun and Earth itself. Between Sun and Earth, you can fit 108 suns in between. That's beauty. Second thing is, you can have 108 earths on the sun itself is another beauty in nature which I am trying to talk, which I don't think we have can be countered by anyone. Third thing is between earth and moon also you see a distance between earth and moon is equivalent to 108 moons itself. I think that picture is very clear in the symbolic form. Now I have gone further to show that Akash Bhuta is the first one which is created from the universal consciousness is pentagon, which was not used by anybody before, to show that pentagon has got 5 degrees, which is 5 times 108 itself. 360 plus 180 put together is 540. That is beautiful thing, seeing Akash Bhuta as a quintessence pure energy with more power. Whereas other forms, Agni has 180, Earth, Water and Vayu have 360 only. That is again a beauty of graphic presentation which every person should understand. I know it is very intelligent, very high, but I want everybody to be in tune with universal consciousness. That's it. Now in this particular picture is a unique pattern of the same pattern. Within there are 5 patterns, and I will leave you to go through it as leisurely. When you see 2 I have brought it down, remaining you can see at such to show how intelligent you are when you are in tune with universal patterns as such. That's it. When come to the next stage of creation by and large, the one which stands out is the goddess Adi Prashakti. Adi means first, Prashakti is absolute wisdom, and what is in this particular picture, you can see 18 arms. There is a goddess and 9 on either side. Now again, 18 arms is 9 on one side, 9 on this side. You come back to 9 again. And 12 is 90 is again something. But here is 18 from which the whole universal thing started forming. Xenon and Krypton gave you the concept of formless and form. But here practical things started appearing thereafter from Adi Prashakti, which is organ 40. Now you see, here I am showing Adi Prashakti. I am not showing 18 arms, but she is there. She is the one who produced Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva as such, or Saraswati, Lakshmi and Parvati, their consorts as such. But that's how the creation started. The mother is goddess Adi Parashakti, and children are Shiva, Brahma and Vishnu, 3 are Saraswati, Lakshmi and Parvati. This is the trinity which stands out. So the trinity of Akhand Bharat is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva or Saraswati, Lakshmi and Parvati, and every one thing is converted into 3 is very clear in this particular picture. Adi Prashakti is 1, but she produces something as a 3 alone, and you're going to see that 3 as I go on explaining things, why trinity is very important at every stage. As I told you, a cell under the compound microscope, you can see cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus. That is 3 only. And further you can see 21 under the electron microscope is something which is there. And the next stage of production, then comes to spiral galaxy or the solar system and human being, it is a goddess Gayatri. And if Adi Prashakti is organ 40, Goddess Shakti is neon 21, from where Divine actually originated, as you see. And that's it. And it has got 10 arms. It shows everything in the human body is made of 10 parts and then 10 stages and done with. Now we have come to very spiritual science level itself. To the spirituality to science level comes with Goddess Gayatri, and that is. From mantra also, it's a Gayatri mantra which is absolute and done. Now comes how the neon 21 plus 21 got together in the beginning. Before creation, it was neon 21. Now neon 21 during creation got together with the Big Bang to produce neon 22. This is where Divine starts. 22 has come from 21, or you say it is centrosome becomes 2 centrioles to become 22 in a cell level or at universal level. Now you see the science coming together. Cell has got 21 parts which become 22, and same is thing, and this is something which is very clearly seen in Upanishads very clearly. Though solar system is made of 21 parts, to go beyond that, you need 27 cells. It's very clear in many of the Upanishads, including Chandogya Upanishad. They force it. Brahma was known to them as a 22 by 21. They have put it in a beautifully in Upanishad form very clearly. Let's accept that spirituality of Upanishads was phenomenal, and so was Ved. Now the comes question is, when we come further, we come to Aditya, the sun god, and Chandogya Upanishad says very clearly, Sakar Brahman is Aditya or the sun, and that is the teaching. Anyone who can understand Aditya, sun completely, he will know how to be perfect by and large. And at this juncture, as I am telling you, our indwelling soul, Antaratma, Kundalini, is Aditi, which is produced in the sun at the temperature of 6000 degrees in the core itself. How hydrogen is Aditya, how helium 4 is the daughter as well as mother of Aditya. That process goes on, and that's what I have already explained. Maybe next time I'll add that picture again of nuclear formation in the understand as a glimpse of it. That's it. Now another thing with the sun, I'm talking about how Divyank is close. Suppose anything is the North Pole. To come from North Pole to South Pole, it takes 11 years. And from down to up again 11 years. So this cycle of 11 plus 11 is 22 years in the sun itself. Then rotation is 22. Again you come to the Divyank. I'm not saying, this is science. And I'm showing that Divyank and science, how I can put together to say, so descending period 11 years, ascending is this. This is what is all about. Now as I told you, sun earth I have already shown, but as far as the system is concerned, you have earth of 7 elements, Antariksha of 7 parts, and 7 planets which play important role to convert into 21 parts. And what spirituality talks about the right side and science on the left side, they are 21. To go beyond the sun, 2021 to 22 is Brahmalok, is going beyond to Satyalok. And this is where spirituality is talked about in Granths by and large. So earth is made of 7 parts, Atal to Patal, then 7 chakras from Mooladhara to Sahasrara, and then Bhulok, Vardok, the other thing what you see in Mahagayatri is very clearly clear here. So now spirituality, art and science are bringing together how they have taught me, brought me to Divyank level by and large, and creating a sutra by. Now from that formation is the human being formed. Pindand Brahman is one, microcosmic universe, and the human body identical. And right up to this stage you can see the brain has got 22 by 21. There are 22 bones in the head and face, which are 21 are fixed, one is that I have already explained. And then you have 10 stages. And same thing you can see in spiral galaxy, same thing you can see in solar system. And that is where you start seeing everywhere is the same story. And once you understand the core story of Divyank, then you will have the wisdom without any difficulty, and I call that is impeccable wisdom by and large. And anyone has all that knowledge in the brain itself is recorded, will be able to produce 8 Hz frequency throughout the brain 24/7 with eyes open itself, because he has reached the Atmic level within that, and that knows everything, as recorded is perfection. So everything is integrated as one. It's like a RAM of whole brain, 100 billion cells into 20,000 is complete. That man is in tune with universal consciousness. That's what I'm talking about. Now with that, how the descent has come, how Indra brought with the water everything down, was the next stage after creation of atom, element, molecules and compounds, how they came down to earth. And that is something which I can call Goddess Gayatri, or descent of Shakti. I have experienced that even as the 8 of 7 itself. Now in this particular thing I have talked about the real beauty of periodic table, how from left to right there is a decline in size and up to down there is increase in size, and I have explained that periodic table. You can go back to detail for reading more about it. Then how the mineral kingdom came from up down, which formed the first stage of creation by and large. And second stage, how the plant kingdom came to make atom, element, molecules, compounds, cells, tissues and organs to make plants to start first in the beginning, how carbon dioxide was converted into oxygen and plants helped it to bring it down to nitrogen 78%, oxygen 21% and made Earth as a viable planet compared to other planets in the universe. This is only one which because there is water, there is oxygen and there is enough carbon dioxide, there is enough for plant kingdom, mineral kingdom as human being as the next stage. Now come to the question of the animal kingdom, which is the brain. I am talking about a human being, the brain which is designed with three parts. Brain stem and spinal cord is like a reptilian brain which is common to the fish and reptiles. Then you have four-legged mammalian brain which brings emotions of family one and large. Then you have a thinking brain of the cortical level which makes the human being. Up to these three things everyone is able to do. But there is something which makes me different from everybody else. The outer three layers of neocortex, the function of that is not known to anyone in the world. That unexplored, unknown human brain, which has three outer layers, acts as an antenna to the universal consciousness. Once you are able to understand that, you activate that, only then you can be in tune with universal consciousness, you can. And that is the reason you can be in the Schumann resonance field or ionosphere of 7.83 and you can produce what I have done because my EEG is able to produce 8 Hz frequency throughout the brain by integrating the three cells to rest of the thing and making the whole thing as one is made me different from others. And you're going to see that part. Now, all that this is a proof to show with closed eyes I can produce 8.5 Hz throughout the brain. But with the open eyes 8 Hz. You are literally between 7.3 to 8.73 of alpha frequency, which Schumann resonance field is talking about, the one which is related to earth element. Other two of 1 to universal, 1 to the higher is there. Let's not go into detail right now. Let's stay on the earth, become a perfect human beings and to be tuned with ourselves and the solar system and spiral galaxy is enough for us to understand spiritual sciences as we should be known. Now the question of the prime objective of human being I have described there. I am not going to go into detail that we have to be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. That's it. And the next reason for failure, I am making it very clear, it is ignorance, inertia which is responsible because we haven't made any effort to understand. And this is where I am saying you got to be educated and that's where Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga is very, very important to make you spiritual scientist. Without knowledge, you cannot have the wisdom. You cannot have money. You cannot have anything at all. That's very clear in this. Then come to the Swajan, how we understand the periodic table very well, why Trinity is important. There are three things which are important, hydrogen, carbon and oxygen, and also the methane, water and thing which I already explained. And how they form the water first, which is the most important molecule for biological life, I have already explained. And how methane is important for the gas to be important, and that is where I have talked about Kamadhenu thing that produces cow dung, which has the methane which can be used for gases by and large. And third stage I have already spoken what methane and oxygen get together to form carbon dioxide and water in the universe to start with, and how that is finally converted into carbohydrate and things is something which I have learned, and everything centers around Divyank alone. Then come to the inner planets, as I told you, to start with these 4 planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars had 97 carbon dioxide. But because the plant kingdom, Earth has got 21% oxygen and 7 things as such we have already explained. Now the question, I come to the end part, everything is finally put together into this picture. A to Z of the entire spirituality and science is represented in this picture, and once you start understanding this picture, entire picture by and large is yours. And after having done that, I think is enough for the day. Now let's be consigned ourselves to as medium so that you can move on very well. Thank you very much. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you.